I've surfed in California, I've surfed in Hawaii, Costa Rica, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand. Um, so Great Lakes surfing will never be ocean surfing. There are certainly waves as big as, a moderate day on an ocean surf, but you just don't have the body of water and as great a fetch or a distance of travel for the waves to develop. Uh, the waves on the Great Lakes are much closer together, and so they pummel you much more. They don't let you go. So in some ways it can be a lot more frustrating and difficult just to paddle and get into position and be out there. And rip currents are a lot closer together and a lot more volatile. There aren't channels, or in other words, deeper pockets of deeper water where you can kind of escape the main thrust of the swell that's coming in. Whereas in the ocean, you can read the water a little bit better and you can find pockets and navigate the much bigger swells. So how does it compare? It's a different animal. Both have some inherent danger. Both have inherent joy. You certainly don't have to deal with icicles when you're surfing in the ocean. It looks absolutely frigid, especially in the winter. And to someone who's never experienced it, they think, oh my God, it's 11 below zero, and there are people in the water, and they're covered in icicles. How are they not dead? I've been surfing probably about 16 years now. That's proper surfing. But my relationship with surfing really started when I was a kid. I mean, I grew up around the Great Lakes, and before I really knew about surfing, and definitely before I knew about Great Lakes surfing, I was body surfing. I was climbing on anything I could when there were waves. I lived on Lake Superior and Lake Michigan throughout my growing up years. So whether it was a windsurfer blank that my dad brought home from a construction site, or a log that we found and we were just screwing around, we would try to ride waves. But I started surfing properly when I moved to California in my 30s, late 20s, I guess. And in California, that's where I really learned to surf and started surfing. You often get called crazy as a surfer in general. Certainly more so as a Great Lakes surfer, and the amount of time you get called crazy as a Great Lakes surfer rises as we get closer and closer to winter. Wintertime, when you're out there and it's 10 degrees below zero and you're in the water, people think that's absolutely insane. So that happens quite a lot, yeah. It's real cool. When I first surfed the Great Lakes as an adult surfer, once I'd really learned to surf, I think it was 2005, and I had come back from California for Christmas vacation. And I didn't have equipment that I wanted to haul back with me, but I didn't know of anybody who surfed up here, and so I hopped on an internet surfing bulletin board and made a post that I was coming back up here. Did anybody know anybody? And a local surfer, Mike Horton, real great guy, he sent me a message, sent me an email and said, listen, I'm not going to be in town, but here's my address. The garage is unlocked. There's a board in there, a second from the bottom or whatever, you can take that. And that was really indicative of the surf community here, right? It was very friendly and welcoming and empowering. He didn't know me, right? And I could have been anybody. But because he was a surfer and from Marquette, it was all aloha. So, that's the spirit is much more friendly here. You go out to the West Coast or the East Coast or anywhere where there's a lot of surfers, it can become a lot more abrasive than that, a lot more aggressive, territorial. And here we're fortunate that the conditions keep the numbers down. And so it's a lot more like a tribe. And that used to be the case when I talked to old timers in California, 60s, 50s, 60s. It was all very friendly, and if you saw someone coming down the road with a surfboard on the roof, you'd wave, stop and talk about the waves. You hear those stories. It's a very different scene in California now, where people are fighting over waves, and every break has just a sea of people on every wave. So here we're fortunate, you know, and I think the conditions will help keep that down. The type of surfing that we have here will kind of keep it a more close-knit family of surfers for a longer time here, I hope.